You're listening to Dumpster Diving with
Janice,
and Jane. Man,
hi.
hi. It's been a minute.
Well,
It's
it's
been
been a minute. You've been here. Like we're
I've
not
been
going
there
to talk about
twice.
all those things. You've been here twice, but we know that if we start talking about all those things, like we're going to be here forever. But so
Yes.
yeah, we got to physically see each other twice. We didn't record a single time. Didn't take a single freaking picture because you were too busy with
Together.
Lindsay. That's for a different episode. Um,
Oh, well, hold on. Hey
no,
Rose. Hi Rose. My
hi
favorite
Rose.
listener.
That's
Hi
true. That's
Rose.
right. Hi, Rose. And hey,
Rose.
if you want us to say hi to you, just message us and we'll do it. We'll do it. Yeah. Yeah. That's the one quick thing. So it's been a few weeks. We're back at it. We're ready to rock and roll. But in that few weeks, Jane did come and she visited. We had our summer party and she came along with one of her daughters, my nieces. And that weekend, and the next weekend she came with both daughters. All along the way, she had a friend. But at the summer party, Rose was there,
Yes.
and hopefully, you guys have listened enough to know that Rose has been on an episode with us. And oh my God, I was like, okay, you can stop now, Rose, because Rose was fangirling on Jane so hard. It's not even funny anymore. And
It
I
is.
was like, Rose, what about me?
Remember
But
me? Hello, your friend? Remember?
evidently, I'm not star striking. Um, you have the star striking quality that I don't have. That's fine. So yeah, now Jane and Rose have a little thing, but whatever. I can get past it. It's okay. It's okay. So, but yes, we love you,
It'll
Rose.
grow on you. It'll grow
It'll
on.
grow on me. It'll grow on me. So we are like, we're gonna be starting not we're continuing our conversations, but
Yes.
bringing a little bit of a different edge to it because we have been talking forever about like even when we first started the plan for the podcast, right? We were like, okay, we want to get to a point where it's not just about us, but that we bring, in addition to guests, right? But that when we don't have guests, that we bring other conversations in by getting our listeners to weigh in, right? To either send us in questions they have, or even potentially, depending on what their question is, coming on with us, and we can just kind of have like a little session where we talk it through. And because we only have 5 listeners, I'm pretty sure we've interviewed all of them. So we had to figure out a band-aid. So do you want to tell everybody what our kind of in between is?
Yeah, so I mean, I was doing some research and chatting with friends and stuff like that, and I was told that Reddit is a really great resource, and I was like, Reddit. I was like, I've heard of it. I know a bunch of people that use it, but I'm not really sure what it is. So during one of those weekends, we decided to crack open the Google machine, download Reddit, and oh my
I
lantern.
had okay. Let's set the context. I had had a little bit of wine. You had had a puff or two of something,
Yeah,
and then we opened the Reddit app.
we did.
Neither
And
one
it
of us had
was,
ever been on it.
it was we got christened by Reddit
We got
that
Chris and
night.
baby. Yes.
Yeah, it was crazy. We were laughing and we just did the headline. We just did the
Yep.
headline and we were just going through and man oh man, we had some laughs. So,
It made me very grateful for my average life. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's like there is some shit happening in people's lives,
there
and I'm
is.
like, okay, I'm gonna go with boring is good here.
Well, I don't even think that we have boring lives. It's just that, sometimes it's like we don't even think to stop and ask some of these questions
That's actually a very
because
good point.
we kind of know the answer already and stuff
We
like
just
that. So some
solve
of the
and
stuff it was
do.
like, seriously, they're asking that on here? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
okay, but then the categories,
yeah.
are great. And, one of my favorites is Am I the Asshole?
Love
Because
it so
they're
much.
life questions, and it's like,
Yes,
wait a minute, am I really the asshole for this
yep.
or what? And then people comment. It's amazing.
It
Um,
is amazing. Life, it can be life sucking. So like literally when we hopped on right before we started pushed record, I was like, we were both like, I was like, I haven't touched it. But for me, not touching it was because I can see how more than any other platform I'm on, I could be sucked into it for
oh,
hours just reading the crazy that happens in people's lives.
yeah.
So yeah. So
No,
we're back at it. So
yes.
today, for the first time, right, we're going to use Reddit as the band-aid or the in-between, right? So again, we're hoping that this gets people really kind of interested in reaching out to us and sending in
Yes.
problems that you want us to talk about and or you want to join us with. And I don't know, this might not, it might be aging me, but it's probably also like, I don't know if this was a national thing, but I remember as a kid growing up in Spotsylvania, Virginia, our local newspaper, because that was a thing before, remember newspapers,
Yes.
was
Newspaper.
the Freelance Star. And in the Freelance Star, I can't remember if it was every day or every week, there was the Ann Landers column. And that
Ooh.
column was exactly what you think it is. It was, I don't even know what her background was. She was probably like me,
Gossip column.
right? Like, and
Yeah.
people would write in and she would give them advice on all things, right? So I feel like that's our aspiration is to be like the modern day Ann Landers,
Yeah.
in this space, especially outside of times when we have guests for other reasons, etc. So with that, we have two, right? We went through, you guys, if we, as we kind of, as this evolves, like one of the ideas when I had a little bit of wine and Jane had smoked a couple of things, um, we were like, we could play Reddit roulette and we just open it and we just scroll and whatever we land on. Well, we're not brave enough or drunk
Yeah,
or high enough
for
for that
roulette.
right now. So instead, we've chosen a couple that are actually both I'm going to say like there was some stuff that was such ridiculousness, and there's some stuff that you kind of go, oh, I get it, like that's really an issue.
Yeah.
So we picked two of those today, and we're just going to talk them through and share ideas, and we're hoping that you guys are going to weigh in as well, and then maybe even send us your own problem that you want help on
Yeah.
solving. So, right, all right, you want to kick us off with the one that you chose?
Yeah,
Let's
totally.
do it.
I will totally kick us
Here we
off.
go.
But first off, I'm going to say Reddit roulette was my idea and it's trademarked already and nobody can take that. So,
Completely trademarked, and we will hunt you down if we
yeah,
find out you took
we've
it.
got big time lawyers with
We
our,
have big time lawyers.
yeah,
They're with our producers and editors over in the corner.
yeah, hanging out, listening to everything that we do.
Everything.
Okay.
Everything. Okay.
All right. So, this is a am I the asshole question.
Love it.
I
All
really
right.
like this one. I really like this one. So I'm interested to hear
Yeah.
what your reply would be.
Okay.
So, am I the asshole? And here's the title: Getting boho braids as a bridesmaid when the bride asked me not to.
Oh, okay.
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 So,
Okay.
that's a good one. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, okay, you're a friend, there's other
Yeah.
things, but let's read into it a little bit. So,
Okay.
the plan is that the wedding's in the fall. And she let the bride know that she was going to have boho braids in at the time and wouldn't need to get her hair done at the wedding. But she also said that she can style them, however, and make it look great. And I know some brides like the half up or half down and blah blah blah, right? So any style that she wants.
Yeah.
Her friend responded, the bride responded asking if she could wear her hair natural instead so everyone could be uniform. Okay, like breaking down the story, I get that too. Okay. However, this particular bridesmaid is the only black woman.
Mm.
And so therefore her hair is different. And she's trying to explain to the bride that this would be the easiest thing. But then the bride's like, she wants her hair natural, but there's no way she's going to blend in naturally with the other women.
Right.
So, um, end of thing is the bride is currently not responding to her text messages and phone calls, but is now talking to the other members saying that she's upset and she thinks that she's making it all, the bride thinks that the bridesmaid is making it all about her. um and then she explains, I tried to lead up, blah blah blah. So her question is am I the asshole? So what are your thoughts, Janice?
So many complexities, right? That, and you've already pointed out a couple of them. It's a very on my mind because I've had a family wedding this year already. Our daughter's getting married in September, so we're not immersed in that planning. They're really doing the planning themselves, but even being tangential to it, it's so interesting to think about like that the dynamics of right as they're planning these
Right.
a wedding and how they're thinking about it. And so there's dynamics around in this case when you bring the race question into it. There's but and not but and that ties into like, okay, what are we really prioritizing here? Like where are our
Right.
values in terms of what's most important? So I would love to hear you talk a little bit about the part of this that has to do with an acknowledgement of because I have the type of hair I have because of who I am, this is a barrier for me. And I say that to you because you have daughters who
Yeah.
have hair that is similar. So you're going to have a very authentic take on it in a way that I don't. And then I'll talk a little bit about the just kind of bride stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, looking at the whole thing,
Yeah.
and understanding that this is a black woman, and I'm assuming that, the rest of the bridal party is not necessarily white, but could have, more white textured hair,
Yeah.
or, like Hispanic or Asian or whatever,
Yeah.
right? So, that's what I'm assuming. And she's obviously feeling like different, in that aspect. She's looking for a versatile hairdo. And so she came up with a solution that she knows it'll work. And the bride is pushing back, saying natural hair. Um, but what does that mean? Like what does
That's
natural
exactly
hair
right.
mean?
Yep.
Because my natural hair wouldn't look like this.
Yeah.
It would be this other color, and it would be a
Yeah.
full head of hair. And so
Yep.
are you saying that I have to completely change my look for your wedding? So my question is how far are you asking your friends to go, and how far are you willing to go for your friends
That's right.
to change your image to,
Right.
to match something? Like, I don't understand that. Like, you're asking your friends to be there as a celebration for your wedding, but then you're like, hey, you have to look a certain way and you have to do this, and I get that
Yeah.
that's part of the wedding, but when it comes to somebody's hair, even as a white woman, my hair is everything.
Yeah.
Like, I love my hair, and if I
Yeah.
was told that I had to like dye it, cut it all off and dye it black for this that's not happening.
That's going a little too far. Went
Yeah,
too
it's going a
far.
little far. So I would ask the friend, are you willing to pay for my hair to look natural? Because
Right.
you can go get a weave,
Right.
or wear a wig or something like that. But what I want is to have my braids. So I think it's a little much, and she could compromise with that because there's no way she's going to look exactly the same as everybody else.
No, I think that's such a key part, right? And I sit here and I think to myself, okay, it's a special thing to invite
Yeah.
somebody to be standing beside you when you get married. That's a very special thing. And so usually it's close family or close friends, right? So if this is somebody who's in your life who you've loved and cared for as a friend for however long, the assumption I'm making is that you love them for who they are. So
Right,
why in the world would you want them to literally almost be somebody different on that incredible day? And
right,
and again, to yours, I know it's about the uniformity and I
yeah,
know it's about pictures, right?
right.
Um,
But
but how
again,
like yeah, like you're saying, like, okay, but don't you also want me to be me? Like, or
right.
like because if you don't want me to be me, hire a bunch of actors to stand up there to look exactly
Totally.
alike
Yeah.
and be perfect for your pictures if that's
Yeah,
what
go
you
get some
want, right?
models.
Yeah,
Yeah, go
yeah,
go hire some models and do your thing. You
right.
know.
Oh, well, not models, Jane, because they would upstage the bride.
Oh,
Let's be
ooh,
careful.
yeah.
Don't, yeah.
Mm.
But I will say, so this is a great example of I almost feel like we're going so far now and if there are brides out there, people who've recently gotten married, people who got married 5 years ago, people who just think differently, weigh in on this, right? But I just feel like it feels like this is about the pictures. And if
Right,
I'm right about that, how really? Like, how far are we willing to go? Like, how important is it that somebody sees all your pictures on social media afterwards, or 5 years from now, or 15 or 20 years from now, if you have children and you're showing them an album? Why is it so important that what they see is perfectly uniform? Like, how have we ended up in this place where it's not good, or it's not pretty, or it's not, attractive to us if it's not perfectly uniform? Like,
right,
how did we end up there? You know what I
right.
mean?
I mean, there's people getting married at the courthouse for God's sakes and everything else. And if you are blessed to have the money or the budget and everything to have a nice,
Yeah,
big, extravagant wedding and have all the things, well, then you better be paying for that hair.
right.
You better be paying for that hair. That's what I would say. Like, you want my hair to look different,
Yeah.
you need to pay for it.
Well, and I mean, it goes to like there's a bigger conversation right now, again, because I've been so close to our daughter's wedding. And our oldest daughter just got married a couple of years ago, or almost 3 years ago now. Um, it's so, and they're all like, three of our daughters are all in that window of time where everybody they know is getting married. So they're being asked to be in lots of weddings. So they've been on the other end of it too, the bridesmaids end of it. It's insane what we're asking of people, right? Like, back when I got married the first time, it was I picked a dress and said, wear whatever you color you want. Now I regret it, by the way, because I thought it was going to be
Pictures are
beautiful.
terrible.
Now I look at those pictures and they're ugly. But I think no matter what, 20 years later, I would look at those pictures and say they were hideous because it's a certain time, it's a certain trend, it's a certain whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, but now it's like now it's the dress and the shoes and it's the hair and the makeup and it's the bachelorette party that's on an airplane flying someplace to pay for because it's not good enough to go to the local like downtown area. Like it's really insane, but along the lines of like let me be me, right? So I was, in a past kind of wedding experience as well, where there was this same dynamic with the bride. And again, God bless the brides. I know how stressful it is. I've done it twice. I can relate. So I get how stressful it is, but so everybody ordered their dresses, right? And with one of the bridesmaids, the dress came in and she sent a picture, right? Put it on, sent a picture to the bride and said, "Hey, it's here." And the response she got back from the bride was, the dress is really beautiful. I don't think it's the best dress for you.
What?
So, exactly. So it's like, so if the dress is beautiful, then I'm the problem, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Um, so you've just insulted me. And what the hell does that mean in terms of, and so this, God bless her, this particular bridesmaid was like, okay, sent it back, got a different version of, because it was like, same idea of like, I think it was like you had to be in the same color scheme, but you could pick a style of dress, something like that. Um, Sent it back and got another one. And then it was, oh, that's beautiful. But I couldn't get over. I was so floored by the fact
Yeah.
that again in this relationship, right? That in the role of bride, somebody felt like they could then essentially say to her that. And in my mind, like, if I'm the one wearing it and I feel good in it, isn't that the most important thing? And it
Right.
goes back to this young woman, right? Like, if she has a comfort level with her hair being a certain way and she's going to be standing in front of all these people, isn't that also important?
Yeah. And how they
Yeah.
feel and everything else.
Yes.
And I mean, I've never, we've already talked about how many times I've been married, but I've never had a real wedding. You know,
27, everybody, in
yes,
case you didn't
27
count.
times, 27 times. I think I've been married the most out of anybody in the world.
You
Uh,
have. You're in the Guinness Book of World Records, in case you didn't know.
I didn't
It's,
know that. And Ripley's
yeah.
Believe It or Not, I think that's an
But your hair is shaped off and it's black, so I'm not sure how that happened, but it's a different story.
damn. Well, it's a long story.
Anywho,
So, but I've never had a real wedding. And so I don't know that I've never had that experience of like the bridesmaids and all
yeah,
the things
yeah,
and stuff like that. So I don't appreciate it as much as some
yeah,
people do,
I
you
get it.
know. However, I don't see the value in having a giant wedding, and I don't know. I have mixed emotions about the weddings, but I don't think that I would ever do that.
Yeah.
Like that's just so, but that's me. I'm
It's
very
too
authentic
far.
and it's too far
Yeah,
away from what I would normally do. So
yeah.
it's just it's surprising to me that people are saying that. So
Well, and day-to-day life, right? Take the wedding thing out of it. I think it again, it's this space we've entered where God forbid if the image doesn't look exactly a certain way. And by the way, we all have a different perspective of what's beautiful or what's attractive. So it's really
exactly.
only your perspective of what's beautiful. And you see it even happen like, like my kids will 100% attest to this that like, early on when people more in our ages got onto Facebook and then we started getting onto the platforms where our kids were and some of our kids were like going into their teen years and stuff and it was like, "Oh my God, don't post that picture. Oh my God." So we finally had to come to a consensus that um I'll post whatever I want on Facebook because none of their people are on it and no matter where I post, I won't tag them.
Yeah,
Because I would post and tag them because and many moms, I know all the moms out there are going, "Yes, exactly." Right? Because they're so
yeah,
precious in every picture. It's a similar dynamic in terms of like, God forbid the world see me in a
right,
certain way, right?
right.
Um, so yeah, so with this particular story, we're on the side of the bridesmaid and we're saying,
Yeah,
listen, you got to find some compromise bride, and you got to help her feel good about who she's going to be, so that
Yeah.
she can in turn help you feel incredible and beautiful, and be who you're going to be the day of the
Support
wedding.
you the way that you want to be supported, because she doesn't feel
Absolutely.
supported as your bridesmaid. And
That's
that's
right.
what it really comes down to, is support needs support. So,
And I think that, a lot, you said this before, at the bottom of this too is just stress, right?
yeah.
Like, you have to ask yourself, would this particular bride behave the same way if it wasn't in the context of a wedding? That's incredibly stressful. There's so much that goes behind it, etc. So we like to think not. We like to think that this was a faux pas, and maybe the reason she hasn't responded is because she's taken a breath and she's going to
Yeah.
come back. But if not, bridesmaid, if you're listening,
Get her.
vote for you. Take your boho braids and show up at that wedding and just be you.
Like the goddess that you are, with your black girl magic, and do all the things.
I
So,
love it.
there.
I love
All
it.
right. So
All right.
that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Period. Next paragraph. We're being really easy on people today, by the way. Next week, I think we have to definitely come out of with some just whack job
Wackadoo,
crap.
as we
Wackadoo
quote.
crap.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh. You know who we should have come on with us with these is JP. JP.
Oh, can you imagine? And then we're just going to pick some that are going to fluster him so
Oh my
much
God.
that
Yes.
he won't even turn on the camera. All right.
Yeah.
So the second one I have, in our inaugural episode of, kind of Reddit Roulette. It's ours. We own it. It's trademarked.
Yes.
Um, so this one is, super interesting. It's also a little bit more on the serious kind of perspective, right? So the caption on the top is, I had a weird conversation with my boss about a pay raise. She basically told me I should be ashamed for asking. What do I do?
Oh my gosh.
Now, I know that's going to trigger the hell out of you. The only other context I'm going to give you is, this is a really, really long one. I'm not going to read all of it, but essentially, she acknowledges she's been working with the company for a few years, couple of years. Started right at the end of COVID, had some rocky stuff at the start, but got on good footing, has been a good employee, has her confidence back. Um, but then, so she decided it was time to ask for a raise because she hadn't gotten a raise in the time that she'd been there. And, got like a mixed message basically, because she had to meet with like not the boss, not the owner of the company. And when she had her initial conversation, it went really well. She got the sense that she was going to honor her request. She was going to go talk to the big boss, yada, yada. And then she came back a week later, completely shifting, and basically saying, listen, some of us, when we first started working here, didn't get a raise for 3 years. You've only been, this time, we shouldn't even be talking about a raise. You should be more interested in the company being successful and not being worried about how much you're getting paid right now. And then the woman basically says, listen, she's a lousy, this woman I'm talking with is a lousy communicator. I've known that all along. But what do I do? I don't have the energy or the time right now to find a new job. How do I navigate this? So, because everything at your job is perfect and you never have any issues, you should go first
Oh.
in responding to
Oh
this.
my God.
How does she respond? A, is she right to be shocked and aghast at this? And B, if you were coaching her right now, right, how would you coach her to go handle it?
So my initial reaction to that is, the fuck? Like, I I would never sit there with somebody, one of my employees, and have them come into my office and ask me for a raise, stuff like that. And that was my rebuttal a week later. First
Yeah,
off, I would have a rebuttal or an answer right then and there,
right.
or something to say, okay, let's see what we can do or whatever. But to come back a week later and just make her feel like she was a complete idiot for just even asking, and how dare you, and you should be investing more time and more effort into the company and not worried about how much you get paid, um, is a I mean, there's context missing. How much is she getting paid now versus what is she asking for?
Sure.
So there's other things. So she could be totally off base and say, oh, I went in there and asked for a $20,000 raise
Yep.
because I am doing my job now.
Right.
So maybe that's where the energy is coming from the
Yeah.
boss. So I wouldn't do it that way. I wouldn't say it that way, but that could be what's going on. That's one side of the story. Because again, Reddit roulette, we're only hearing one side of the story. So,
That's exactly right. And a couple of other context pieces. She shares that, this is a US based company. She's from Eastern Europe. And she felt like when they hired her is because they felt like she was somebody they could pay less, and there's a big pay gap.
Oh, so there's
But
more to it.
she also does add a couple of things that are confusing, right? Like she's like she said, I've been with the company a year and a half, and I've gotten a raise, but now I feel like it's time for another raise. I'm feeling like this is probably like a not a salary type job. I feel like it's an hourly type job,
Right,
it sounds
right.
like. But she did say, I think the thing that was really powerful here is that this woman, right, this boss of hers said things to her like, um, that, you're making us feel very uncomfortable by asking us for a raise. And when she countered and said, but aren't I supposed to advocate for myself? The response she got was, well, it might be like that in your culture, but not in our culture, whatever that means.
Oh,
So
okay. So there's
so it's
more going on.
it's as much about, even if the answer is we can't give you a raise right now, right? It really is more about how this woman spoke to her and some
Right,
of the things that she
right.
said to her, right?
Because and it's totally off base because I mean those things they don't even matter. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter about culture. It doesn't matter about any of those things. What matters is what is the plan of the company and what is your policy?
right.
Because all you need to do is fall back on that. I'm sorry,
Exactly.
Janice. Or as it turns out, Janice, you've been here a year and a half, and you did receive a pay increase at this time. And once you receive that initial pay increase, it's usually typically about 24 months before we
Right.
give another raise.
Yep.
So in between then and now, or now and then, let's take a look at some of the things that you're saying. Let's look at your job description
Yeah,
versus the job that you're doing and see where there's any opportunities to work on it and get that increase when that 24-month period hits.
exactly.
That's a
Yeah.
super professional
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
Okay.
So I love what you just shared because you essentially provided our audience with if you're the boss in this situation
Yeah.
and somebody comes and asks you for a raise, how
And
do you
that was
respond?
the policy,
Yeah,
this is what it is. And that's what I
yeah,
would do is just lean on the policy, but very nicely and not make her feel like she's doing something wrong. You're making
exactly.
us feel uncomfortable by you asking for a raise. What the fuck? Who says
Well,
that?
who says that? And the fact is, this generation, and by that I mean like
Younger
at least
generation. Yeah.
Gen Z, like they're going to ask, right? Like our generation, I was in my 40s before I was first off in a a a job where I could ask for a raise because when you're a public school employee, it's all mapped out. Like you said, the policy there, it's all mapped out. You get a raise at a certain time. Um, and I had to be coached. Like I needed coaching around how do I even have this conversation? So I
Right.
get her angst around having the conversation, and she strikes me as much younger, but who knows?
Yes.
Um, and so, but this generation is going to ask very much more easily than we would have or
They
could
do.
have, right?
They
There's
do.
that.
Yeah.
But the second piece is if you're the boss in this situation and you don't have a policy to fall back on, then own that, right?
Yeah.
Listen, I appreciate you coming to me. I appreciate you putting on the table where your interests lie and what you feel like is going to be important for you in your next career, steps here with us. And you're making us realize that we should have this mapped out in our HR policy, and we don't. So
Yeah.
we're going to take some time to do that, and we're going to take X amount of time. Let's meet again on this date and however much time, and come back and have this conversation about what that looks like. And because I do think this is an important piece because you're asking for you, which is really important. You've brought to light the fact that we're not prepared to have these conversations at all. And so
Anybody.
we need to think about it across the company so
Yep.
that we can think about a way to be equitable, et cetera, right? Period. So that's a way to respond if you don't have a policy. If you're a
Yeah.
startup, if you're a small business and you've never really thought about it, right? That's a way to
You don't
respond.
think that they need a raise and you can just give
Exactly.
them a really professional no.
Exactly.
That's the whole point is like the delivery and what you're saying can mean so many different things. And for bringing up culture and your country versus our country or whatever the case, like that is just crazy to me. And
Yeah.
that tells me that the culture in the office is very,
Is a problem.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
problem.
It's a
So I
problem.
see where she's coming from, just based off of what she's telling us. But also, like I said, she could be somebody that's eager and that thinks that now that they are
Yeah.
doing their job fully, they need a raise.
Yep.
I've had plenty of conversations with people like that where it's like, okay, well, yes, you're doing better there. Let's take a look at where the other opportunities are
Yeah,
and then build on that. But let's give you a time frame and some goals.
exactly. Yep.
And that's where you can pacify the need for it and they're actually working for it. So now they are going to be motivated
Yeah.
to continue to do their job and do it well and then expect that raise. But then also, then you dangle another carrot, like that's how it works. But if
Yeah.
you don't have even that plan in place, of course you're going to have people coming to you after a year and a half going, "Hey, I want a
Yeah,
raise."
exactly.
That's her
Exactly.
fault.
Yep.
That's the boss's fault for
Yeah,
not
they
having that
created
in
that.
place. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so the flip side then, right, is how does she respond? And so one thing I have in my head is right now, like where this post left it is that they're in this awkward space where she said all those things were said to her and now she doesn't know what to do, right?
So she
So
needs a rebuttal.
obviously she can look for a new job, which she
Sure.
says, yeah. So one way that one way that I might recommend to her to respond, and you actually just said it, I'm going to turn it into her angle, and then I know you've probably got another beautiful way for her to respond, and that is to come back to them either in writing or verbally, right? And she might want to put it in writing in an email if it's uncomfortable because of the way she was talked to
Mhm.
by her boss before, but is to come back and say, I've been reflecting on our conversation of a week ago, 2 weeks ago, a month ago, however long it's been. And the reasons that you stated that talking about a raise at this time isn't appropriate. She has two choices. She can address how she was spoken to, right? And she
Yeah.
can say, I was concerned about some of the things that you said. And in future conversations, I'm going to ask you to not put me in that position, right? Of feeling ashamed, right? Maybe even saying that. But in terms of moving forward, assuming she's not going to quit and go find a new job right now. So for now, I am going to be working on set her own goals. I'm going to be working on the following goals. And I plan to come back to you all at this time, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, to re-enter the conversation in hopes that by then you all will have given more thought to how we would proceed, right? Like
Yeah.
something like that where she acknowledges how they made her feel, but also then takes the reins and says, listen, here's what I'm going to work on, and here's when you expect me to come back. So they don't think that she's just never going to bring it up again, right? Because
Yeah.
they just never talk about it. All right,
Right.
what would you recommend?
So I'm right along the same lines. However, I would change it up just a little bit. Instead of
Yeah,
saying, okay, these are the things I'm going to work on, they did say that you should be investing your time on making sure that the company's successful. So if
yeah.
that's what I need to be focusing my time on, that's what you specifically said. Please help me understand what you would like my goals to be.
What does that look
I
like?
would
Yeah,
love, I would love to work that out with you. So then therefore, at a certain time frame, then I
yeah,
can talk to you again
yeah,
about an increase and stuff like that. And by that time, you'll have, you guys will have a plan or whatever she needs to
yeah.
say. But that's what I would say is like, help me help you. Tell me
That's
what
right.
you would like me to focus on because I'm not I wouldn't say this to her, but like, I'm not a mind reader, but we're not mind readers.
Yeah,
But if you don't ask, you don't know. And what you
that's
don't know, you
exactly right.
don't know. And so
Yep.
that's what I would say for her is like, just take this as an opportunity to grow and take control of the situation
Yeah.
and go to them and say, look, I want to be here. I want to get a raise. I want to do all those things. So please help me help you and
Yeah.
let's be successful together.
Well, and what it reminds me of is like, I love kind of how you framed that. And again, if you're deciding that you're going to stay there, um, remind yourself that we learn as much about leadership from people who do it poorly as we do from people who do it well, and take this as
Absolutely.
a learning opportunity. And it's triggering for me, like a leader that I worked with a million years ago at a school that I worked with in Virginia, a private school. And I just remember the thing I remember most about her, I can't even remember her face, but I remember her leadership because I remember the running joke among those of us who worked for her was, well, is it a red light day or a green light day for her?
Oh my
Because if
God.
it was a red light day, stay the fuck away from her because she was hell on wheels. But if it was a green light day, you could get pretty much anything you wanted, but we never
Easy.
knew what it would be. Right? We never knew who was showing up that day. And so it created so much turmoil for us and so much stress and anxiety. But I learned a lot from that. Right. And I'm
You
thinking
learn how
this
to
young woman,
adjust,
yes,
and
this
be
young woman can
agile.
learn like, don't, and even our listeners, right? Like if you're a person in a leadership role and you're listening to this, a great takeaway is think about how you talk to people and decide whether or not you would be okay with anybody saying those things to you. Because if not, that's your rule of thumb, right? You should not be saying to anyone else, I don't care what titles are, something that you would not tolerate or you would not be okay with somebody saying to you, right? That's a very simple, easy rule of thumb.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. So, yeah, well, this was fun.
Fun, fun. I think that next time we should I'm a little scared of it, but I feel like next time I think we definitely should focus on the kind of crazy ones, right?
Right.
And maybe we do one kind of like these today and one crazy one. We'll figure it out. But that one, it's definitely got to be your roulette. It's got to definitely be like a quick scroll and see what we land on, and then we're just talking about it, no matter what it is. Um,
Right. Well, here's one that I just
oh,
love. Am
oh,
I the
let's do it.
for inviting a deaf woman out to a movie with open captions? I recently asked a deaf woman if she'd like to go see a movie together. I've been wanting to see this new Deadpool and found a rare moment where I had both free time and a bit of money and desire to go out. I also found Deadpool was playing in a semi-closed theater with open captions. I can't even find a theater that doesn't that does open captions all nearby. Oh my gosh. She mentioned, so anyways, but that was funny. It's a longer
Well,
story. That's
sometimes, like you said, it's like just the caption just
is
makes it so,
hilarious.
oh
Yeah,
my God, which I
that's
guess is the
fun.
point. So you guys, again, this is us working through kind of where we want this time that we spend together with you guys to go and how we want to frame it. And you've heard, hopefully, if you've listened, so much from us in terms of the kinds of experiences we've had in life that frame where we're coming from and our perspectives. And we just want to bring that to you in a way that's going to be of value to you, right?
Right.
So in the posting that you see about this, in the podcast description, it's going to have our email. Reach out, right? If you want us to talk about a problem that you're trying to solve genuinely, right?
Yeah.
Then let's do it. And it can be either we talk about it, you can come on if you're brave enough to come on with us. Like it'll be so fun. And there's no doubt in my mind, people are listening to these two stories and going, oh my God, am I that bride? Oh my God, that's exactly what, like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I'm having this issue at work. And so, yeah, we're excited.
Yeah. That's fun. I like it. All right. Well,
All
what are
right,
you
folks.
doing this weekend?
I am finally at home. I'm home.
Good.
We're gonna get together with some friends, and work on some organization projects. And I'm gonna be working. Like honestly, I'm drowning right now. It's
Yeah.
so
I
much, which is a great problem to have, but there's just so much. So I'm so glad that we squeezed this in today because I don't want to lose sight of this. In fact, I was having a conversation earlier with somebody, actually somebody that JP introduced me to,
Oh, cool.
because when I interviewed JP for my LinkedIn series, if you've never gone and watched that, go watch my LinkedIn series. When I interviewed him for that, he was like, "You have to meet Will," and I was like, "Okay." JP said I should meet him, so just like you, I follow your lead. I'm
Yeah.
not stupid. So I met him, and he's a young guy. That they crossed paths. We had a cool conversation, but part of it was like kind of he's 23, he's literally just starting on a career path, right? So it was kind of some of that career stuff and all of that. But one of the things I said to him is like, yeah, here's my job now, and it's really huge, and it's can be overwhelming at times, but I love what I do. And I just was like, so if I were 23 again, I didn't know at 23 that I was going to love what I do. I knew I loved what I did, but I didn't know how far it was going to take me. But I said, even at that age, don't settle for oh, I'm young, I can just I just need to what's the expression, I just need to pay my dues. And don't get me wrong, there's a level of paying your dues, but there's no reason you shouldn't be paying your dues doing something you love. And obviously if you're loving it, you don't actually feel like you're paying your dues. So
Exactly.
how about
Exactly.
you? What are you guys up to?
Um, yeah, I have work, and then to Saturday, I got invited to go like to a little music festival. So I'm going to do that
Oh,
for a couple of hours.
fun.
Yeah, get out of the
Yeah.
house, have some grown-up time and do
Grown
that.
up.
But then other than that, that's really it. Hang out the
Yeah.
house. Hang out at the house. We haven't been here really.
I
So,
know.
you know,
Same. Like July was crazy. And, last week I think, was it last week? I think that my friend Jen, who you met,
yeah.
left. And for like 3 or 4 days, it was just like, just like trying to kind of regroup, and then get some shit. There's so much stuff to do around the house too, to organize and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah.
We're
But
doing
all
this.
good, man. Looking
Yeah.
forward to it. All right, sister. Thanks for the time. This
Yes,
was
thank you.
fun.
Thanks
All
everybody for
right.
listening.
Like, subscribe, share, do all the things. You know what to
Yeah,
do.
you
Peace out,
better.
everybody.
All right, bye.
Bye.